The rain hadn't stopped since morning. It came down in heavy sheets, blurring traffic lights and washing the city in silver gray. Ethan Cole sat behind the wheel of his old Honda, one hand on the steering wheel, the other clutching a half-empty coffee cup. The dashboard clock blinked 7:42 a.m. He was late, again. His 6-year-old daughter, Lily, sat in the back seat, swinging her legs and humming a tune from the cartoon she loved. "Daddy, will they be mad at you again?" she asked softly. Ethan forced a smile through the rearview mirror. "Maybe a little, sweetheart. But Daddy will figure it out." He dropped Lily off at school, kissed her on the forehead, and raced toward work, his 3rd job in 2 years. Being a single dad wasn't easy, but he was trying. Every single day. As he approached the next intersection, he saw something, a woman on the sidewalk, struggling with grocery bags, one hand clutching her stomach. She looked pale, in pain. Without thinking, Ethan pulled over. "Ma'am, are you okay?" Her voice trembled. "I think my water just broke." Ethan's heart raced. The hospital was 5 blocks away. He helped her into his car, sped through traffic, and kept reassuring her between contractions. "Hang on. You're gonna be fine." He reached the hospital in record time, helped her inside, and didn't leave until the nurses took over. When she finally caught her breath, she whispered, "Thank you. I didn't even get your name." He smiled tiredly. "Just someone who was running late anyway." By the time Ethan reached the office, it was almost 9:15. His manager stood by the entrance, arms crossed, face cold. "Ethan, this is the 3rd time this month. You're done here," he tried to explain. "Sir, I was helping a pregnant woman. I don't care," the man interrupted. "We all have problems. Pack your stuff." Ethan stood frozen. The humiliation burned, but he kept his dignity. He gathered his things in silence and walked out, rain soaking through his shirt. That night he made mac and cheese for Lily, pretending everything was fine. But as she slept, he sat by the window, staring into the rain. "Maybe kindness doesn't pay anymore," he whispered. 3 days later, Ethan got a call from an unknown number. "Mr. Cole?" said a calm, confident voice. "This is Grace Turner, CEO of Turner Industries. I'd like to meet you." He was confused. I think you have the wrong number." "No," she said gently. "You helped me 3 days ago. At the hospital." His heart skipped. The pregnant woman. When he arrived at the towering glass building downtown, he was led to a bright corner office overlooking the skyline. Grace stood by the window, elegant and radiant, holding her newborn son. "You saved 2 lives that morning," she said softly. "Mine and his." Ethan smiled awkwardly. "I'm just glad you're okay." She looked at him for a moment. "The world needs more people like you. But tell me, why did you look so sad that day?" He hesitated. "I lost my job because of it." Grace's eyes softened. "Then maybe it's time you got a better one." She handed him an envelope. Inside was a job offer, not as a warehouse worker, but as the head of community outreach for Turner Industries. A full-time position with benefits, flexible hours, and a salary he'd never imagined. Ethan blinked, speechless. "Why would you do this for me?" Grace smiled. "Because kindness should never cost you your future. It should shape it." Months passed. Ethan thrived in his new role, creating programs that helped struggling parents and single workers. Every morning he dropped Lily at school, this time without worry or rush. One afternoon, as he watched her run across the playground, Grace's words echoed in his mind. The days that followed felt like sunlight breaking through a storm. Ethan arrived at work each morning with a quiet gratitude, the kind that comes from knowing you've survived something that could have broken you. He wasn't driving an old Honda anymore. It had been replaced with a modest company car, but he still picked up Lily from school himself every afternoon. He refused to let success steal the little moments that had once kept him going. Grace would sometimes visit the community center his department had built. She'd walk through the hallways, smiling at the families who received groceries, job training, or childcare assistance because of Ethan's ideas. One day she stopped beside him as they watched a group of single parents laughing during a workshop. "You've turned your struggle into hope for others," she said quietly. Ethan smiled. "You gave me the chance. Most people would have walked away." Grace shook her head. "No, you gave yourself the chance the moment you stopped for a stranger. I just helped the story continue." Her words stayed with him. Every time he spoke to a struggling father or mother, every time someone thanked him for understanding what they were going through, he realized how far one act of kindness could reach. Didn't end with that rainy morning. It kept rippling outward, touching lives he'd never meet. Late one evening, after putting Lily to bed, Ethan stood by her door watching her sleep. Her soft breathing filled the quiet room. He thought about how easily things could have gone differently. How one decision, one small stop on a wet road had rewritten their lives. He whispered to himself, "Sometimes being late is exactly what saves you." Outside, the city lights shimmered against the wet pavement. The same rain that once felt like defeat now sounded like forgiveness, soft, endless, and full of promise. Weeks turned into months, and Ethan's new life began to settle into a rhythm that felt almost unreal. Every morning started with Lily's laughter echoing through their small apartment, followed by the gentle chaos of breakfast and school runs. For the first time in years, he didn't feel that tight knot of anxiety in his chest when the day began. At work, his department had grown faster than anyone expected. Ethan's programs weren't just helping people, they were changing lives. Single parents, veterans, and people who had once lost faith in second chances now had hope again. Grace often called him her company's heart, and the employees loved him for his humility. One afternoon, during a company-wide event, Grace took the stage. Her voice carried through the hall as she told the story of how one man's act of kindness had not only saved her life, but inspired a vision for the entire organization. As she spoke, she pointed toward Ethan, who sat quietly in the audience. The applause that followed caught him off guard. He wasn't used to attention, but as he looked around at the faces smiling back at him, he realized something. Kindness didn't just change others. It healed the person who gave it, too. After the event, Grace approached him with her son in her arms. The baby cooed and reached out toward Ethan, and Grace laughed softly. "He seems to remember you," she said. Ethan smiled and touched the baby's hand gently. "Guess we've both been through quite a journey." Grace nodded. "You reminded me that leadership isn't about power. It's about compassion." "You showed me that." That night, Ethan drove home with Lily, city lights reflecting off the windshield. She was half asleep in the back seat when she murmured, "Daddy, are you happy now?" He looked at her through the mirror, his heart swelling. "Yeah, sweetheart. I think I finally am." The traffic lights turned green, and as he drove through the glow of the city, he thought about everything that had brought him there. The rain, the moment he stopped, the chance encounter that changed everything. Sometimes the universe works in quiet, mysterious ways. Sometimes it takes losing everything to discover what truly matters. And as the night unfolded around him, Ethan knew one thing for sure. He hadn't just found a job or stability. He'd found purpose, and that he realized was worth more than anything he could ever lose.